So this is our third video in a series we're doing on the doctrine of the church. And last time I mentioned, and we looked briefly at the fact that we are essentially a congregational church at Crossview. In other words, we don't have a hierarchy of bishops over top of us, and we don't have a group of leaders outside of Crossview who are making decisions that will impact us as a church. Essentially, we are a church that here in Crossview, we govern ourselves by electing leaders in dealing with matters of doctrine and discipline as a church body. I want to give you just a couple reasons to think about why we have taken this position and why it's important. I do want to say at the outset that there are good reasons for the different forms of church government. So if you've come up from a background that isn't congregational, if maybe you've been in a Lutheran environment or a Presbyterian environment, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, they're all wrong and we're the only ones that are right. Essentially, what we have to do when we decide on certain doctrinal distinctives, like how we govern the church, we go to the New Testament, we go to the Scriptures, and we try to see what does the Word teach us about how to form a church and how to organize the church. Now, obviously, different denominations have come up with different answers for that. And in some cases, they've made strong arguments. In other cases, maybe it's not so strong. So I just want to give you briefly a few of the reasons of why congregational church seems to make the most sense to us. I'm prefacing this by saying I'm not trying to offend anybody who's in a different church environment. This is just the distinctiveness of how we do things at Crossview, and I want to give you a few reasons to support why we do it that way. So first of all, throughout the New Testament, and especially in the early church in the book of Acts, we see the church or the local gathering of believers being tasked with important decisions like the electing of leaders. We see that with the leaders that are elected to be deacons in Acts chapter 6. It is a gathering of the church there that comes together, and they put forward, or they essentially vote or elect for specific people to serve as deacons in the church. So the local church has that responsibility. We also see local churches doing things like sending missionaries, affirming theological positions, carrying out church discipline, as we talked about last week from Matthew chapter 18, and performing disciplinary measures such as excommunication from 1 Corinthians chapter 5. These are responsibilities that are given to the local congregation, and we don't see in these examples, we don't see the local church going to a greater authority before making these choices. In fact, they're given instruction, this is how you're to carry out these tasks. And it's expected that local churches are capable and prepared to carry out all of these different functions, which goes back to the reasoning that we said in the first video. Church polity, or our church organization, affects the way that we live together and carry out our mission. So as a congregational church, we here at Crossview govern ourselves as a body, and we have the final say in matters of doctrine, distinctives, and discipline. And it's also on us to carry out these responsibilities as a local church together. So that is just some extra information for you. I encourage you, read through the book of Acts and also the epistles to look for information about how, especially the Apostle Paul, describes church governance and leadership and the way that the local church is to operate.